In autism, there is a thing called the Triad of Impairments. This was first written about in 1981 by Dr. Lorna Wing, which is the first documented account of Asperger syndrome ever written for the English-speaking world. This little section is about the Triad of Impairments, of the first which is about socialisation, in impairment in social interaction, and how a person interacts with people, socialises. If the person likes to be around people, it can got the gift of the gab, likes to talk a lot, or not. And with Asperger syndrome people, we tend to find things like that difficult. A lot of us don't like being in crowds and that, because of disorientation, or just don't like a lot of people about, and the fact that other people often can get a bit judgmental when we're often just trying our best, but most people wouldn't realise that, except if everybody else almost looks like they've got Asperger syndrome, so they can't see anything there. And so often Asperger syndrome people usually have less friends. They usually have about 5 or 6 friends at the most, whereas a neurotypical that can have up to about 150 friends. An Asperger syndrome person only has about 5 or 6. There's probably a lot of those are really chosen because they can either be genuine, whereas most people are only out for what they can get. Such as I find that with neurotypical people, well, they tend to speak down to me, and I find neurotypical people very condescending. Not all neurotypical people, but those that I know tend to be condescending, but I'm not sure what others will find. And so I tend not to socialise with many people, and another thing is having something to identify with, rather than just on the basis of same interest. Like if you're a member of that group and accepted well, then you could be able to socialise. And then but if you have socialisation conditions, which often Asperger syndrome is, because it's also a part of that triad of impairments, then things can be a bit difficult. Communication, which is a big area, including actual speech and non-verbal communications such as body language, eye contact, tone of voice, in inflection or anything like that. This includes in autism or Asperger syndrome, means usually have taken things literally, such as raining cats and dogs. Some people, like if you say to an Asperger syndrome person, it's raining cats and dogs, he might look out the window thinking that dogs and cats are falling out the sky. It doesn't actually mean that cats and dogs are actually falling out the sky. It actually means that it's pouring down rain. Another thing is another literal sound is pull your socks up. It doesn't actually literally mean pulling your socks up. It just actually means try a bit harder. Or pull your pulling your finger out just means doing some work, and rather than pulling your finger out your sockets. So these sort of things that an autistic person could have problems with in terms of communication, and I tend to have understood this, but I've compensated by reading the dictionary and learning what figures of speech are and what words mean, so I can understand their what they are by reading the definition, and I also of their etymology, so therefore I would have not much problems, even though I do take some things literally, but sometimes I do that in terms of sense of humour rather than anything else. And another thing, that some autistic people may not speak with the same accent as everybody else in their regional area, and so would have an sort of inappropriate accent for their regional, from where they were born. It's a bit like an American not being able to speak sounding like an Australian without actually having been there, because of, and having a strange accent, probably to do with his autism. I've known that before in a few people, but that's quite rare. But and another thing in communication is that people can tend to sound very formal, tend to use formal words, or sound like an adult even as a child. But it depends on the subject or whatever. The third one is impairment in interaction. This impairment in interaction is in terms of the need for structured routines, doing activities the same way, and with almost no flexibility. That if a change has to take place, it is best to talk about the change that's to take place, so the autistic person will prepare for the change. Because if change has just sprung upon them, then they're not going to like it, and it make them feel a bit uneasy. So if changes have to be made, they should be talked beforehand. But my main area of routine, I like to have the same. I like to have known the same people, because I don't like have to lose people and having to try and make friends afterwards, because that's a dangerous thing in autism, because not everyone's accepting. There's such a thing as asperphobia out there, and there has been for donkey's years. So since before Lorna Wing's paper. So that's why I like to keep the same friends, even if it's for a good few years. And I don't like having to keep chopping and changing people just because I move somewhere else. Like when I was a kid, it was moving school, having to lose your old friends and having to make friends and to make new ones, which I obviously I didn't like. Then that was pretty much hell of me. But I had to do that throughout the 1970s, from the special into the mainstream, and that never done me any good. And a lot of autistic people have had to do that, but I find that with routines, people often need routines. Also activities have to be done in the same way, or certain activities have to be done at a certain time, and if they're a little bit late, often that could upset about an autistic person or an Asperger syndrome person, because if it's done at one time and he or she is used to doing it at a certain time, why not do it at the same time all the time? But whereas a neurotypical person, it doesn't really matter what time, because it doesn't really bother them, because a neurotypical has that level of flexible thinking, whereas autistic people is described as having inflexible thinking, whether that person is an actual low on the autistic spectrum or high or very high up. And these things can often be linked, like seeing the same kind of people every time. That often links with social skills, because if you know the people, then you know what to avoid, and how to avoid annoying them or whatever, and in what to say. So therefore there are links in between the various fields of the triad, and I hope that this is of any help to anyone. So I'll have to sign off now.